My best friend stole my career, my reputation, and the woman I loved, so I made sure his perfect life collapsed from the inside. I always thought betrayals happened suddenly, like something you walked in on, or a confession someone blurted out because their guilt finally crushed them. But mine didn't happen like that. My betrayal came slowly, quietly, like a leak in a ceiling you don't notice until the whole roof caves in. And when it finally did, it buried me alive. My girlfriend, Sarah, and my best friend of 12 years, Lucas, were the kind of people everyone envied. She was warm and soft-spoken, with that gentle way of tucking her hair behind her ear when she laughed. He was the charismatic one, always cracking jokes, always knowing what to say. The three of us were inseparable. The kind of trio people joked should start a podcast or a YouTube channel because of how naturally we bounced off each other. Maybe that's why I didn't notice the signs. Or maybe I did, but I didn't want to believe them. The first red flag came 6 months ago, the night Sarah forgot to hang up the phone properly. I was half asleep, my brain drifting somewhere between a dream and the dull glow of my nightstand clock, when I heard her voice, soft, whispering, "Too soft." He almost found out today. My stomach tightened instantly, but even then, even with adrenaline prickling my skin, I didn't jump to conclusions. I remember lying frozen, telling myself she probably meant something innocent. A surprise party, a gift, something harmless. Then Lucas' voice came through the speaker. "We just have to be careful, okay? He trusts us. Both of us." My breath stopped, completely. I stare at the phone even now, months later, remembering that exact moment, how my fingers trembled as I pulled it off the nightstand. How their voices sounded so close, like they were whispering right into my skull. I didn't confront them that night, and that's what saved me. People say heartbreak changes you. They never mention that silence does too. Over the next few weeks, I watched them closely, not enough to be suspicious, but carefully enough to confirm the ugly truth. Their inside jokes, the sudden tension when I entered rooms, the way Sarah's phone was always flipped upside down, the way Lucas avoided my eyes during conversations, and worst of all, the guilt, heavy, sticky, clinging to their skin like humidity. Then came the final proof. It was a Saturday, just before noon, when Sarah told me she'd be visiting her sister. Nothing unusual, she often did, but something felt wrong. Her tone was different, too rehearsed. I could almost see the script written behind her eyes. I let her leave. 10 minutes later, I followed. I parked across the street from Lucas' apartment complex, hidden behind a moving truck. I saw her car in the guest lot, saw her walk up the stairs, and even though I already knew in that deep, sickening way your body knows before your brain accepts it, it still felt like being stabbed in the same wound over and over again when she knocked on his door and walked right into his arms. My heart didn't break, it calcified. Some people start screaming when they're betrayed. Some people cry. Some people fall apart. I went still, completely still. I watched them from behind the windshield, my breath fogging the glass. And I didn't feel rage, just clarity. Like every noise in the world had been muted except the slow, deliberate machinery of my thoughts. I didn't confront them. Not that day. Not the next. Instead, I smiled. I acted normal. I let them think I was clueless. That was the beginning of my plan. You learn a lot about people when they think you're blind. You learn their patterns, their weaknesses, their tells. You learn when they're bold, when they're sloppy, when their fear outweighs their guilt. And as I tracked them quietly, methodically, I realized something else. They didn't just betray me. They enjoyed betraying me. The secret glances, their shared smirks, the way they thought they were smarter than me. And that's when the revenge stopped being about heartbreak. It became about justice. The kind of justice that doesn't just expose people, it dismantles them. Lucas had a career he cared about, a reputation he worshipped, a carefully crafted image of a loyal, dependable friend that everyone adored. Sarah had a future planned out: graduate school, a fellowship, glowing recommendations she had been bragging about for months. They had something to lose, and I had nothing left, which meant I held all the power. Before I could take revenge, I needed evidence, undeniable, irrefutable proof, and gathering it was easier than I expected. They weren't subtle, they weren't careful, they were blinded by arrogance. I recorded everything: calls, messages, photos, timestamps. I collected more than enough to shatter their lives in a dozen different ways. But evidence wasn't enough. I needed timing. I needed precision. I needed impact. Revenge is an art, and I planned to paint a masterpiece. The day everything fell into place began like any other. Lucas texting me about grabbing a beer later. Sarah kissing me on the cheek before another study session. Both of them smiling like I was too stupid to notice the knife they kept twisting. If they only knew. They say revenge is best served cold. Mine was going to be ice. And as I sat there, finalizing the last details of my plan, one thought echoed in my mind. They wanted to break me. Instead, they built my resolve. And when I was done, they would wish they had never met me. I didn't sleep the night before everything unfolded. Not because I was nervous, but because I'd already played the entire scenario in my head 100 times. Every detail, every reaction, every crack that would appear on their faces when the truth finally cornered them. It was the kind of clarity soldiers probably feel right before a mission, cold, steady, unwavering. The morning began with a familiar routine. Sarah leaving early, hair still damp from the shower, giving me a quick kiss before rushing out. She didn't even notice my eyes. She didn't notice anything about me anymore, except my usefulness as the clueless cover they hid behind. "Love you," she had said, like she always did. "Love you too," I replied. And for the first time, I meant it as a goodbye. After she left, I sat on the edge of the bed, phone in hand, reviewing the files one last time. Screenshots, voicemails, photos, an entire archive of their betrayal. Months of deceit compressed neatly into a folder titled The End. I opened the audio file, the phone call I recorded the night Sarah forgot to hang up properly. Hearing their voices whispering again sent a strange satisfaction through me. They sounded so confident, so sure, so safe. That safety was about to evaporate. My plan involved 3 steps: exposure, destruction, aftermath, each perfectly timed. The first blow would land at Lucas' workplace. He had always bragged about how indispensable he was to his team, how everyone trusted him implicitly. That was the foundation of his ego, his reputation as the reliable, morally upright coworker who would never stab anyone in the back. I forwarded the evidence to his boss, the R department, and because I wanted maximum impact, his company's anonymous ethics hotline. Screenshots of explicit messages between him and Sarah with dates aligning perfectly with the nights he claimed to be helping me through relationship stress. Photos of them together in his apartment complex while he was supposedly working late. And the audio file, their whispered conversation about keeping their secret hidden from me. I added a short message, just 1 sentence. "I think you should know who represents your company behind closed doors." I hit send. Step 1, done. The second step was for Sarah. She had been preparing her graduate school application for months, carefully collecting recommendation letters. Her interview was scheduled for that afternoon. She had talked about it endlessly, how it was her dream program, how it would shape her future. Her entire identity was built around this opportunity. So I sent the admissions committee something they couldn't ignore. Copies of the messages where she bragged to Lucas about playing innocent. During my emotional breakdowns, screenshots of her mocking her own volunteer clients, and one particular recording where she admitted falsifying parts of her personal statement. To sound more tragic, not illegal, but enough to brand her as unethical. Then came the final piece. A forwarded thread of her talking about milking her relationship with me, so she didn't have to worry about money before moving out with Lucas. Her dream school would not tolerate any of that. With 2 sets of dominoes already wobbling, I prepared the final and most devastating piece. The confrontation, but not the click kind. Not me showing up at the door screaming. Not me demanding explanations they'd only lie about. This confrontation would be public, undeniable, inescapable. I chose a popular cafe we used to visit together, the place where Sarah and I had gone on our 3rd date, where Lucas used to joke that he knew us better than we knew ourselves. I knew they still went there, assuming I was too oblivious to notice their shared schedules. I arrived early and took a seat at the back, hidden but with a perfect view. I didn't have to wait long. They walked in 10 minutes later, side by side, talking quietly, their hands brushing in that guilty, electric way people in secret relationships do. They sat at a table near the center. Perfect. I took a deep breath, stood up, and walked toward them with the kind of calm that felt unnatural, almost rehearsed. They looked up at the same time, and for a brief, beautiful moment, I saw pure terror flicker across both their faces. "Hey," I said softly. "Mind if I join you?" Sarah froze. Lucas swallowed hard, his jaw twitching. "We were just," he stammered. "Relax," I said, pulling out my phone. "I'm not here to fight." They exchanged a nervous look. "I just thought you should know," I continued, "that I finally understand everything." Sarah shifted in her seat. We can explain." "No," I cut her off. "You can't, and you don't need to." I tapped my phone screen, casting the audio file to the cafe's Bluetooth speakers. "Yes, The cough had public pairing enabled, and yes, I checked that in advance. Suddenly, the entire cough fell silent as Sarah's whisper echoed through the room. He almost found out today. Then Lucas' voice. We just have to be careful, okay? He trusts us. Both of us. A gasp rippled through the cough. Sarah's face drained of color. Lucas looked like someone had kicked his lungs out of his chest. I let the recording finish. The last few seconds, the part where they briefly laughed about how easy I was to manipulate, landed like gunshots. Then I leaned in and whispered, by the way, check your phones. Right on cue, their notifications went off. I watched the horror spread as they saw the forwarded emails, the messages, the consequences already unfolding. Lucas' lips parted like he was going to plead. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. I didn't give them the chance. I hope it was worth it, I said quietly. Losing everything. Then I walked out. Behind me, the entire cough erupted in low murmurs, stares, whispers, the kind that crawl under your skin and stay there. It was done. The masterpiece was complete. But revenge has one more step, the aftermath, and theirs had only just begun. I thought that once the confrontation happened, once every lie, every secret, every whispered betrayal was dragged into the light, I'd feel some sort of release. Relief, maybe? Triumph. Closure. But the strange truth was that as I walked away from that cough, listening to the fading whispers and the frantic chaos behind me, all I felt was quiet. Not peace, not emptiness, just an unsettling quiet, like the world was inhaling sharply but hadn't exhaled yet. I got into my car and sat for a moment, watching the cough through the windshield. After a few seconds, the door burst open. Lucas stumbled out first, scanning the street with panic in his eyes, like he expected me to be waiting with another bomb to drop. Sarah followed behind him, face blotched red from crying, wiping at her eyes while trying to keep up. They looked disoriented, exposed, and yet some dark part of me whispered, this is only the beginning. Revenge, I realized, wasn't a single event. It was a chain reaction. The first message came an hour later. From HR department, subject. Immediate action required. They'd already suspended Lucas pending full investigation. And the mail included a line that made heat bloom in my chest. Due to the seriousness of the evidence provided, we are also initiating a review of all projects you have had access to. Translation. They thought he might have been unethical in other ways too. Good. But the real shock came next. Sarah didn't text me, no. She called 8 times. I ignored them all. By the 12th attempt, she switched to voicemails. I didn't want to listen, but curiosity won. Her voice was wrecked, cracking between every word. Please answer. I don't know what to do. They emailed me. They said they're reevaluating my candidacy. I worked so hard. Please, I just want to talk. I need to explain. Explain what? How betrayal somehow becomes less painful if you dress it in excuses. I deleted the voicemail. But the universe must have been watching, because the fallout kept growing. My phone started buzzing nonstop. Mutual friends, coworkers, even people I barely talked to. Word spread fast. Public humiliation spreads even faster. Some messages were sympathetic. Dude, I had no idea. I'm so sorry. If you need a place to crash or talk, I'm here. Others were curious. Is it true what he did? Wait, was she cheating the whole time? But a few were downright furious toward them. I didn't respond to any. I just watched the chaos bloom. Later that afternoon, I grabbed lunch at a diner. As I sat there, trying to distract myself with a greasy burger, someone slid into the seat across from me. I didn't need to look up to recognize the voice. So, Marcus said, eyebrows raised, is it true? You nuked them. Marcus wasn't just a mutual friend, he was the founding member of our trio. Before Sarah ever entered the picture, had drifted from Lucas over the past year for reasons he never shared. Now I was starting to understand why. I took a slow sip of my drink. Depends who you ask. He huffed out a low whistle. Man, I knew something was off. Didn't think it was this bad. I didn't respond. He leaned in. Look, I'm not here to judge you. Honestly, good for you. That guy thought he was untouchable. I finally glanced at him. You knew something? He hesitated only for a second, but long enough. Marcus. Fine, he sighed. I didn't know he was sleeping with your girlfriend. But I knew he was messing with other stuff. Work stuff. People stuff. Manipulating. Sabotaging. He had this ego. This belief that he was smarter than everyone. Of course he did. Arrogance was the oxygen he breathed. Why didn't you say anything? I asked quietly. Marcus looked away. Because he wasn't my friend anymore. He used to be, but he changed. And I didn't want drama. I figured you'd see through it eventually. I almost laughed. Yeah, eventually. He tapped his fingers on the table. Uneasy? You planning anything else?" he asked. I met his eyes with a calmness that surprised even me. "This was never just about a breakup," I said. "They tried to dismantle my life, my stability, my sanity, and making sure they can never do that to anyone again." He swallowed hard, then nodded. "Well, if you need backup, or information, or whatever I'm in." That surprised me. "Why?" Marcus leaned back, expression darkening. "Because he ruined someone else too. A friend of mine. He did something similar, manipulated her, lied, then threw her under the bus when things got complicated. She left the state to get away from him." A cold pulse slid down my spine. How many lives had Lucas damaged while pretending to be my loyal friend? Maybe this wasn't just personal revenge anymore. Maybe this was justice for more than just me. Before leaving, Marcus added, "Oi-chan, you should check social media." When I finally opened my phone, my stomach tightened. A post from someone at the cough had gone viral. A blurry picture of Sarah sitting at that table, hands over her face, while the audio recording played in the background. The caption read, "This guy exposed his cheating girlfriend and best friend in front of the whole cough. I've never seen anything like it." Comments were pouring in. Thousands of them. Some cheering, some debating, some horrified. By evening, the clip had hit TikTok. By night, it was on Reddit's front page. And as I watched the views climb into the millions, one thought settled into my chest like a weight. This was no longer just between us. Their reputations weren't just stained, they were globally scorched. But viral fame has consequences, and not just for them. Because the next morning, someone knocked on my door. Not Sarah, not Lucas. Someone who knew something none of us had ever considered. And what they told me changed everything I thought I knew about betrayal. The person at my door was someone I had spoken to in almost 2 years, Emily, my ex before Sarah. We had ended things peacefully, drifting apart as people do. I never imagined she'd show up now, looking shaken, clutching her phone like a lifeline. "Can we talk?" she asked. We sat at my kitchen table, the same place Sarah used to study, laugh, lie. Emily took a deep breath. "I saw the video," she said quietly, "and I think you need to know the truth about Lucas. The whole truth." I frowned. "I already know enough." "No," she whispered. "You don't." And then she told me. Lucas had interfered in my relationship with her too, not physically, but emotionally. Had fed her lies, exaggerated my mistakes, twisted stories to make me look uncaring and distant. She showed me screenshots of old messages he'd sent her years ago. Subtle manipulations, seeds of doubt, always encouraging her to break things off while making himself look supportive. And it didn't stop there. She'd heard from someone else that had sabotaged work opportunities for me, quietly spreading rumors, framing small mistakes as bigger ones, putting himself above me every chance he got. The pattern was long, far longer than I realized. "He didn't just betray you with Sarah," she said. "Has been undermining you for years. And he enjoyed it." Something inside me went numb. The betrayal wasn't 6 months old, it was a decade old. Hidden behind smiles, jokes, brotherly hugs, had built his identity on having power over me. And when he finally crossed the line with Sarah, it wasn't a sudden lapse, it was an escalation. I thanked Emily and watched her leave, her eyes filled with sympathy that I wasn't ready to accept. When the door closed, the silence felt heavier than ever. My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "You ruined my life. Hope you're happy." I stared at it for a long time. Was I happy? Maybe happy wasn't the right word. Maybe revenge wasn't meant to create joy. Maybe it was meant to create balance. To restore what someone tried to steal. I didn't reply. A few hours later, I found out Lucas had been fired. Sarah's application had been rejected. Mutual friends cut ties. Their social media vanished. Their perfect little world collapsed. And I finally felt the quiet begin to loosen. That night, I walked past the cough where everything had gone down. A few people recognized me, whispered, nudged each other. Instead of shame or awkwardness, I felt something else. Freedom. For the first time in months, the air didn't feel heavy. My chest didn't hurt. My mind wasn't fogged with doubt. I had been betrayed, manipulated, humiliated, but I hadn't stayed a victim. As I stood there, my phone buzzed again, this time from Marcus. "You did the right thing." "Seriously?" I typed back. "I didn't do it to hurt them. I did it to stop them." And when I hit send, I realized it was the truest thing I had said throughout this entire ordeal. Revenge wasn't about destruction. It was about reclaiming control from people who tried to take it. I walked home slowly, feeling lighter with every step. The world around me felt different, not perfect, not magically healed, but honest. And honesty, after everything, was enough. Because the story didn't end with their downfall. It ended with mine, my beginning.